Hey George.
How you going?
I'm very good, mate. G'day guys, Calvin, Cartoon in New Zealand. So I'm in the back blocks of New Zealand, a little place called Narrawa here, because a man took the engine out of that vehicle there. That's a Suzuki Grand Vitara. That's a lovely trailer, isn't it? Garden's looking good too. And he put it into this one. So this is a little early Vitara. And there's the engine. Oh, look. He's even got the box ready for me. And there, oh, there's someone wanting to talk to me. It's inconvenient. So this is going to be this engine's first fire up in this chassis. Gone is the stock ECU, and under here is a link ECU. So we're going to make that start up, make it all work. All right, let's get into this. Okay, so we've got a fault, analog volt 2. I'm just going to do, because you've been working with it on and off, so I'm just going to clear the fault codes.
Okay, I've never actually powered the
yep, all good.
links up.
Yep,
so
so that's all gone. So straight away we've got some things working.
Yeah.
So if I go ECU control, no, if I go to the tuning mode here, if I go to tuning, hopefully you've got a water temp. Is it really cold today?
Not really, it's about 19 degrees.
It's telling me 4 degrees and 4 degrees. It's interesting, isn't it?
Mm.
And this is where, you know, you can get these numbers. Here's the problem, no calibration set. So it's okay, I'll just give it a calibration. You've got to look at, when you're working on them, you've got to be aware, you know, today is a high teens, early 20s day. So our air temp should be about that. So somewhere in here, there should be just a Bosch NTC, which I've probably just popped through it.
Yeah, about 4 down, Bosch.
That's a Bosch. But that's not what I'm wanting.
Okay.
I was hoping for just standard Bosch NTC.
Okay.
Now we've got 21 degrees. That sounds a bit better, eh?
Yep.
And we'll do the same with the water temp.
I don't think it's far off because I'm showing 20 on my little thermometer over there.
Yeah, in the shed. And we're 21 on that one. So we're just going to store that, and I probably should save this file. Okay, so we've got our two temperatures working. Let's have a look at the throttle position while we're here. And these are really cool because you can do a TPS adjustment right here or in another spot. So can you just go push the throttle all the way to the floor for me, George? Woohoo! And let it off, please. And I'm just going to store that. And then if you could just, I'm just watching the throttle position now. It's saying it is at 0.
Yeah.
Can you just go all the way to the floor, please? I can't complain about that. It's going to 99 there. That's good enough for me, what I'm doing.
Yep.
Perfect, George. You wired that correct too. I'll calibrate the map sensor at the same time. Map sensor, yes. Okay. What I'm actually going to do right now is I'm going to turn the fuel off because we don't have a map and we've got to work out those triggers. Of course, because this wasn't quite normal when we've changed from the original trigger, which they didn't have a proper trigger for, and you've put that little 36 minus
24.
24 minus 1?
Yep.
24 minus 1 we went for. Okay, cool. So if I go down now to the triggers, did you put actually on the input pins, on the digital inputs, did you put a start input into the link from the starter motor?
From the starter motor, yes.
You do?
Yes.
Okay. Where did you pop that, George?
Well, I've connected it to
the link to DI1. You think?
Yeah. Well,
Can you? We'll just give it a crank in a moment. I'm just going to grab it here.
Right.
I'm pretty sure you put it on DI1 as per your instructions here. DI1.
Yep.
Perfect. If you can just give it a little crank.
Yep.
If you just give that a little bit of a crank for me. Perfect. Bang on. Okay, so that's good. Now I'm going to look at the trigger setup. So our digital inputs are done and our analog inputs are done, and they're all correct. So we're going to change it to missing tooth, multi-tooth missing, and we go trigger 1. It's on the camshaft because you've done that little modification, and I saw the little picture you've done.
Yeah. $300 was that?
Right.
Because they had trouble making the D.
Hey, g'day guys at Link. This is George's little Suzuki. So we've got a little Escudo here. There's the Escudo. The engine came out of a Grand Vitara. Funnily enough, it was this Grand Vitara, which sits as out the front and is missing the engine. See, no engine. There's a look at the chassis tag of the Vitara. And it's ended up in this little Suzuki. So it is a J20A, and it only runs the crankshaft. No, sorry, it only runs the camshaft position sensor, which happens to be this unit here. So I've been in this morning, and I popped the sensor out, and I got my paint pen out, and have been in here marking. I'm just going to go over and we're going to just double check it. It's better to cut twice, measure twice and cut once. So I've got a number 4, which is where it is at the moment. It's on number 4, firing, and number 1 is over the other side there. So I'll just pop that back in. We'll have a look. It's a little bit awkward when you see I can't physically reach because I'm too short, so I have to climb up there and pop it in the hole. So with the distributor, or the housing, you can see we can move. I shouldn't say distributor because it's not a distributor, because it's got these things, the individual coils. But we'll put it approximately where it should sit there like that. And I'm going to get this engine turned over to be on firing number 1. So down on our pulleys, we've got a white mark, which is lined up with the pointer at the moment. And George has run it up to TDC, and it appears to be about the black mark, which we can just see. So there's possibly like 5 degrees offset down there on the marks. And we're in the hole here. You can see here. Let's see if we can look down in here. Is it going to do it? Is it going to do it? Is it going to do it? Oh look, we got some marks down there. We got some double marks. So that's where it's sitting, like that there. And I think if I pull this unit out, we will find that it's lined up pretty close at the back of it. And funnily enough, look at that. There's a little cutout in the gear, and it lines up with that housing mark right there. Putting it around about that's where it sits, so you should be able to get it pretty close on the marks. I'm going to try not to fall off the car. That would be embarrassing. So I hope that's helpful. We'll get this unit down to you, get it scoped up. Of course, that is all it runs. No crank sensor. It's all in that cam unit there. Talk to you later.
I should have just gotten to do a hole.
Yeah.
And I could have brazed the piece in.
Yeah, see, that's the little wheel cut up. Yeah, you could have all gone and find a D and made your own, and then you welded it all brazed in the middle. Yeah. That's the joys of when you've been an engineer and you look at something and you go, well, this would have been much easier for, this is how we could have done it. Yeah. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to program that into the link to make that work. Yeah. Looks good. Okay.
So, I wasn't certain whether you wanted leading or trailing, so we had all the slots cut, and then I've taken one out.
Perfect. Okay, so we got 24. Missing tooth is 1. Number of gaps 1. That's all fine. And the arming threshold, we'll actually adjust that later on as we go. Trig 2. And I'm going to do sync mode none. None. So we're running solely on the crank trigger. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Runtime values, and we'll go to trigger over here. Just a little bit lost there. Okay. Didn't sound like that battery. Have you put a charger on that battery?
Yep.
It has had it. Yep. Seemed a little bit slow on the crank, but let's go give it a crank over and see what happens, eh?
Do you want to flick that fuel switch back on?
I do not want the fuel pump going. I'm not actually trying to start it. Right. Yep. All I'm trying to do is see if the ECU actually picks up your trigger.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, well, just remind me, I had it on reluctor, but I think I'm wrong. I think this was a Hall effect, wasn't it?
Yes.
It's a Hall effect. That'll be why we're having issues there. Optical Hall. Right, let's try again, George. I'm not getting anything. Okay, well, I'm not picking up anything. Okay.
You don't have to put it to rising edge or anything like that.
Well, I've just changed it from falling to rising.
Okay.
I did it just to do the guess and check.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I've just done that. Let's just try turning the pull-up on too, shall we? Give it another try.
Right.
Oh, there it is. Turn the pull-up on. Okay. I'm just that's got us a trigger. And it looked about right, just under the 200-ish, 180, 170, 180 maybe, at a quick glance. I think what I will do is I'm going to just run through and do an injector test.
Yeah.
Clicky, click, 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 click. And we'll do a spark test as well, just to double check that we've got spark everywhere. And then we'll come back and calibrate that trigger. So it's really easy on this one. These ones are really pretty simple. Little hint, firing the injectors often puts fuel into the cylinders, so we don't want to then go firing spark into the cylinders. It seems to be bad. Things seem to go bang.
Yeah.
My ears hurt. I've lost hair on my legs doing this, so I've learnt to always do the spark test first, which is funny because it's Link did this. So you do your fuel setup, then you do your spark setup. No, that's bad.
Okay.
Even with the MFs, because some of them, the intake valve is slightly open, so it pops back into the intake and it makes a big poof. Yes. And you see the map sensors go to massive amounts of pressure. So I don't do that anymore. Thank you, my friend. And the tablet cover is probably not the ideal place to actually get an earth thrower. I've got it on the manifold there.
Yeah.
I'm actually on number 1.
That's number 2.
No, I've taken number 2 coil out, but I've plugged it into number 1.
All right, it's all right.
Just to confuse us all. Yes.
Just to confuse me.
Yes. Don't fall off the box. You ready?
Yeah.
Anything happening?
No.
Okay, that should have sparked, George. It doesn't run off the fuel pump relay or anything like that?
No, it's got its own relay.
Okay, so if I grab a test light, and we can check whether we've got voltage going to that coil.
Yeah.
Just wait, George. I'm just changing this here. Let's try again. I've just turned it to, as I had the spark turned off.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if it doesn't function, the test, if spark is turned off. There you go, there it is.
Okay.
You actually have to have the spark turned on. You can't do the test with the spark turned off, which kind of makes sense. But that's ticking away, look at that. Looks good to me. Okay, if you stand here,
Yep.
and we'll just swap from coil to coil to coil, oh, to plug, to plug to plug to plug. I'll just turn that off before you go touching it, eh?
Yep.
I'll keep my hands where you can see them before you finish doing anything, because I don't want to scare you. Good?
Yeah.
Here comes number 2. That sounds good to me.
Yep.
Hands where you can see them.
Okay.
I always get nervous when people are playing with spark and they've got the control of the spark themselves, and I'm having to play with leads or something.
Yeah.
Because I don't really like sparks going up my arm.
No. Over the years, I've had a few when I was a kid, especially.
Number 3. Bam.
Yeah.
So they're all correct. Perfect.
Okay.
So I'm happy about that. Yep, there it is. Look at that. That's what we wanted, eh?
Yep.
Have we got some timing marks?
Yep. Let's crank again. Nowhere near.
Okay.
Nowhere near.
Can you, so you can't see it anywhere?
No.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just adjust it over here.
Let's make sure I've got the right there.
Okay. So I adjust it over here
Yeah.
in 90-degree lots to get it within the ballpark, hopefully. So I set the base timing here, that's the one here. Push enter. Always got to remember to push enter. Try this.
We're nearly there.
Nearly there?
We're about 10 degrees now instead.
10. Okay, so we're like, if I go this, see how we get on.
Just a couple of degrees over now.
Couple of degrees over.
Yeah.
So we want to bring it in between the two.
Yeah.
357. That's pretty close.
Yeah.
That's good enough for me. We will check it again once it's running.
Right.
Basically, want it in the ballpark. In the ballpark's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm wondering, now we've got the timing close, I'm going to just fire those injectors. We'll hear them go tickety tick tick tick.
Right.
Whilst we've got no spark happening.
Yeah.
And then we will fire, and then I think maybe we still need to lift that. No, I think we'll just try and make it go. If it goes, we'll call that, we'll be happy. If it doesn't, we may set up your adapter on that number 1 coil.
Okay.
And then we still need to double check the timing once it's running. But I want to hear some noise, and going on what we've just done, the timing should be close.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so if you just have a listen to the injectors.
Yep.
Working from this side is a bit easier, eh? So I can crank it and not have to walk around. Okay, so I'll do some fuel test here. So basically I go to fuel test, injector test here. Here comes number 1. Oh wait, it's that same problem as the injectors. We make sure we turn the injection mode on. Sequential. And it's in traditional. Yep, that's all going to be good enough. And then we turn the injector on. You can sometimes put your fingers on it. But there's number 2. If I just go through all of them,
Yeah.
they're all ticking. That one sounds different, eh?
Yeah.
Different part of the manifold. And we're good. Job done. That's easy, eh? Let's plug the coils in.
Yeah.
We'll kick it in the guts.
Right.
That's a bit of backfire, eh? That was a bit of a pop. It's making spark.
Yeah.
Got to work out why it's going to poppy to pop pop.
Okay. Well, could that be that there was fuel in one of the cylinders and...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, okay. Just wait. We can, with our calibration, be at TDC, but be at the wrong place. We can still be 180 effectively out, a whole revolution out. So if our numbers was 360, well, very close, it was like 357, and I'm effectively 180 out, but I'm not actually 180, I'm actually 360 out, because it's firing number 4, that's why we were popping. If I put it back to 0, it's very close. It's very, very close. So now, if at the same time, because I don't have any right fueling, we're guessing on the fueling, okay? Yeah. So if I crank it here, it almost wants to start.
Yeah,
and
we need to.
I'm just gonna up the fueling as I go. Okay. Give it some throttle. It might be a little bit rich, but it goes. And that's the first time it started in this chassis. You did well.
First time it started for over a year.
You've done well, and you've wired it up all yourself. I didn't find any mistakes.
Well, you give us a pretty good drawing.
Well done. .63, so we got voltage. We're burning all that paint off.
Yeah. You would think that Toby would put a heat resistant paint, but
it is now idling on its own at 500 RPM. I'm going to give it some idle. I'll try and set up that idle speed.
it's a bit higher than...
Yeah, but we need to warm it up properly as well.
Yeah.
And then we set some fueling and we set some idle speed. We do all those things. The bop is the idle speed.
Oh, that's this.
It's this pulsing through here.
Yeah.
So that idle speed unit pulsing.
Yeah, okay, I got it now. Yeah.
Well, that one may not be suitable, but
okay.
But of course with the intake on you're not going to notice it so much.
No.
Then we will set that base idle, once it's warm, we'll set the base idle as well. But it sounds good. Look at this.
Which is something that one would never do.
Oh, the little...
A big lag.
Oh yeah, there you go. Look at that. Woohoo! She's a runner. Whoop, 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 whoop. How long have you been playing with it? Stock computer?
I suppose about 3 months now, one way or another.
And then on the link, listen to that.
Well, yeah.
I've had a couple of trips.
Yeah.
You've had to do that wheel.
Yeah.
But listen to that, and listen to the revs. We've checked the timing with the timing light with it running. Now I've just disconnected the idle speed and I'm setting a base idle with the stopper. About an 800 idle speed, do you think, George?
Again?
You want about 800 for your idle?
Yeah, I can't remember, to be honest.
I can go lower, but it's more to do with what's nice with four. How does that sound?
Sounds lovely to me.
Sounds lovely. That's just because it's running. I mean, how does the idle speed sound?
It sounds fine.
Let's just lock that stopper up there.
I tend to keep the idle speed up.
Yep. That's.
Because when you put the winch on or whatever.
Yep. Well, I'm going to give it 50 RPM more than this. Okay, so I'm setting it about 50 RPM less than what we want it. It's sitting there at like 760. So it'll make it about 800. I could go up to 850 quite safely. Little Monsoon X. Lovely. Up through the firewall, through a firewall plug. There's a bit of extra stuff for the other stuff on the four-wheel drive. But it looks pretty good. He's done a nice job. I didn't find any mistakes. It's fantastic. Really impressed. Really, really impressed. And you built that trigger wheel. That's pretty cool. I found your old one. So that was the trigger wheel that was in it. And Link didn't have the correct triggering. George had a lot of information. And he went and built one of those. Oh, I keep dropping it. With 24 teeth on it. And I've configured that up, set it up. It's going to be lovely. A lot of paperwork, a lot of that standard ECU. And I've given him this little bit, and he's worked his way through and wired it all up. It's running. This is some guy in New Zealand doing it in his shed, well into retirement age. And he's done a better job than some workshops have done. Really impressive. He's ticked along. He's an engineer from the printing industry. And still out four-wheel driving at his age. Fantastic. I hope I'm doing it. He's not just building them, he's using them. This is one of the reasons I do this sort of job, because this is seriously cool to see, and I love helping this man out. He's over the moon that it's going. I missed catching that because he said it in his own words. He was over the moon to have it running, and it's really cool. He bought a wreck, was never right, never heard it running. This is the first day he has heard this engine running. Tried to wire the standard ECU. There was issues there, and immobilizer issues, and they never got it going. Little Link, beautiful job, looks great, and it sounds good. We've still got to tune it. There's other things to sort, but it's a great big step forward. So I'm really, really happy about today. Hope that's been helpful. Hope you've enjoyed watching this. We'll catch you again soon. Catch you later.